Subzero or some MKX. I hope my audio is okay. I already had some problems recording this, so I re-recorded it. Hopefully the audio is fine. But yeah, pretty much I want to make a longer video. You know, I used to make daily commentary videos, but I kind of just was yapping about nothing because I would make them daily. And you know, they just got way less views than my short content because of that. And I don't, you know, and so I just decided to stop forcing commentary. You know, if something needs commentary, I'll put it in. And yeah, so that was the idea of why I don't do commentary as much. And this might be one of those videos, but for the sake of myself, I enjoy uploading videos talking about how I feel about a game before it comes out, just so I can, you know what it was like at the time. You know, I can come back to it later. And yeah, other people can also do the same, you know. And 10 years down the line, what was it like before, you know, MK1 came out, or Street Fighter 6 came out, you know, or even 100 years down the line. I'm sure these videos will still be here, and maybe one person will see them, you know. And I just like it for myself. I could go 5 years into the, you know, 5 years later, I can come back and be like, oh, I was right about this, or nah, I was off the booth talking about this. What was I saying, you know? So I just like having that, especially for moments like these when a new game is about to come out. So I just want to talk about how I feel about the game, and yeah. And I want to raise awareness to something about the game that no one has talked about at all. And I feel like I am the only person talking about this. And I did the same thing for Street Fighter 6. I talked about a problem I think the game had before it came out, and a few months after the game came out, the controversy started. I was talking about the microtransactions in Street Fighter 6, and I was talking about them before the game even came out. And what do you know? 2 months after the game came out, there was a big controversy because they were selling costumes for $15 each. So, and you know, I was the only person I had ever seen raise awareness to that problem months before it even happened. So, I'm going to talk about some of the problems I have with MK1, and I don't see anyone else talking about them, so maybe I'll end up being correct, maybe I won't. That's the thing. I'm not saying these are problems, I'm saying I think these are problems that the game has, just like I did with Street Fighter 6. And I ended up being right, because Street Fighter 6 was showing really weird signs that everyone was just ignoring, like you can't game share the season pass. You know, that was just weird. There was no need for that. And yeah, I want to talk about MK1 stuff. So before I talk about what I like, let's just get out of the way the thing that is concerning to me. And I will talk about this in my review when I do review the game, right? But this has been something that's been bugging me for the past month about this game. And here we are 1 week away, and if they really wanted to change how I feel about this, they would have done it already. And that is, Ed Boon came out and publicly said in June when MK1 got revealed, he said, you will see why Mortal Kombat 1 has 4 years of dev time. If you don't know, every NetherRealm game comes out 2 years after the last one. Mortal Kombat 9 came out, Injustice 1 came out 2 years later. MKX came out, Injustice 2 came out 2 years later. Injustice 2 came out, Mortal Kombat 11 came out 2 years later. They've always had their 2-year cycle. This time, MK11 came out, it's been 4 years since that game came out, right? We're approaching 5 years, we're on 4.5 years. And they still haven't released another game. So, over double the amount of time it would normally take. And Ed Boon himself said, "You will see why this game took 4 years to create." And that was very exciting. And I don't know if anyone remembers that quote, because I believe he only said it once. But that really excited me. And here we are, 1 week away from the game's release. And they haven't shown anything that would suggest why the game took longer than 2 years, right? Than they normally take. And the funny thing is, you could say COVID, right? Yes, COVID was a thing. But Ed Boon himself said you will see why. So it's not like I just have expectations, you know, for no reason, because I know COVID existed. But apparently it didn't bother them that much, because Ed Boon said when the game got revealed, you will see why it took us longer to make this game than any other NetherRealm. And here's the thing. Not only did it take the longest to make, it's also the most expensive. The game costs $70. That's the most expensive fighting game we've seen, like, ever. And obviously Tekken 8 also costs $70, but, you know, that game comes out in a few months. At the time, only MK1 costed $70. So this is the most expensive fighting game we might have ever seen. And the problem is that, funny enough, they say that the dev time may actually, you know, you'll see why the game took so long to make. But funny enough, this game, from what we know so far, has less content than MK11. It seems to be on par with Injustice 2 for the most part, which is very strange. So not only is the game more expensive, it has less content than MK11 and less content than Street Fighter 6. And those games were $60. And Street Fighter 6 just came out and it was $60. And it seemingly only has a normal story mode. Which, don't get me wrong, NetherRealm, you know, no other fighting games have a story mode. But Street Fighter 6 came along, and in my opinion, I think Street Fighter 6 changed the entire genre. I don't think a normal story mode really is enough anymore. You have to have more than that. Because NetherRealm, they were doing normal story modes, and that became the standard that most games couldn't reach. Most games did not have a normal story mode. So NetherRealm was knocking it out the park. But then Street Fighter 6 does an open world game, which of course NetherRealm did before, but Street Fighter just did it way better than NetherRealm did it. Obviously, because it was a PS2 game when NetherRealm did it. They didn't have the technology. But yeah, Street Fighter 6 has a crazy, you know, story mode, where you can do whatever you want pretty much with your character. And now to see NetherRealm, which was the king of fighting game content, just release a game that's not the best content-wise is kind of weird to me. And also have it be the most expensive. I guess that's the American side of the company kicking in. But then again, Tekken 8 is also $70. But funny enough, Tekken 8 is like 4 months away from releasing, and they've shown why it's $70 more than Street Fighter, or more than MK1 has. Tekken 8 has 2 story modes, 32 characters, and you can completely customize all the characters. To me, that's worth $70. Literally 2 story modes, 32 characters, and the game still is like 4 months out, so we don't know everything. Mortal Kombat 1 has 24 characters, a story mode, and a board game. But the board game is pretty much seemingly just Towers of Time in a disguise, for the most part. It's just a more exciting version of Towers of Time. The game does not have a crypt. Yes, the crypt in MK11 was a disgusting grind, but it was a full adventure mode, you know? So, what's that about? Like, what is that about? So, yeah, obviously the game isn't out. However, the game is a week away. And they haven't shown anything that convinces me on why not only the game is more expensive than a game like Street Fighter 6, but how the development time aided in making the game better. Because don't get me wrong, right? Let's be honest here. Mortal Kombat 11 probably is going to have more content at launch than MK1 is going to. But nobody wants to play MK11. I can tell you right now that I am interested in playing MK1, but I am not interested in playing MK11 for as long as I live, you know. And I genuinely believe that I may die. I genuinely may die before I ever play MK11 again. The only time I'll play MK11 is maybe I want to compare it to something new that is happening in Mortal Kombat. Maybe. So, I don't know if I've ever thought to myself, I might die before I ever play this game again. But I did with MK11. And I can tell you right now that I only played the first beta of MK1, and I would never think that with MK1. I would at least, even if the game isn't as good as MKX, and even if it's not as good as Street Fighter 6, I would at least be willing to check out every character that comes out and be excited for new characters, because the game is just fun so far. And MK11 never had a chance to be fun because it just didn't have any fun at all in the core of the game. But anyways, before this video ends, you know, I talked about my concerns about, you know, something that I think, you know, it's a little worrying. But also, to be fair, I'm not a casual, so I'm not going to sit here playing single-player content the whole time. But it's nice to have, especially with Street Fighter 6, because even though I don't play, you know, single-player content in fighting games, I really enjoy Street Fighter 6. So, yeah. And, yeah, now I just want to talk about what I like about the game real quick. Obviously, gameplay is better than MK11. How good is it? We don't know, but it's better than MK11. Roster is my personal favorite roster ever in a Mortal Kombat game. I really like what they've done. I have never played Kano, Jax, or Sonya. So the fact that they took those characters out and replaced them with characters that I potentially would play is really cool to me. And it was something I don't think anyone could... If you told someone a year ago, oh, the new Mortal Kombat game won't have Jax, Sonya, or Kano, you would think they were lying straight to your face. But that's the truth. And for me, that's exciting because I never played any of those characters. I never had interest in any of those characters. You know, and because they took bold moves like that, it allowed them to make a roster that I would, you know, with more characters that I would potentially enjoy playing. Which is why I'm a big fan of this game's roster. Gameplay, obviously, really fun. And it seems hard to get bored with one character because you can just switch cameos, you know? And that's just cool. So, you know, that's great. Story mode is going to be fun to play, even if it is basic compared to Street Fighter 6's. The stories are good, normally. MK11 was a little debatable, but normally they're good. You know, MK11 had a very high quality story, but the story itself was a little messy, and they definitely ruined the characters of some people. And speaking of, I really like the fact that it's a new timeline, new universe. So characters can be different than they ever were for the past, like, 30 years. But that's all sick. And some people will say the game looks better, or MK11 looks better than MK1. Some people will say that. And I can see why you would say that. However, I really like the art style of MK1. I really like how colorful it is. It's almost an unrealistic amount of color compared to MK11, but I really like it. So, if you told me MK11 looked better than MK1, I completely see why you would say that, but I like the way MK1 looks more. So yeah, I like the graphics, I like the gameplay so far. I love the roster. The combat pack is amazing. Yeah, so I'm just excited to be able to actually see what all that stuff is like. So yeah, like, subscribe. Let me know if I'm a little crazy with the $70 4 years dev time thing, but me personally, they haven't done anything to really justify it. Obviously, we'll have to see when the game comes out. But as of right now, I'm not fully convinced. But yeah, you know, like, subscribe, and I will be uploading this game when it comes out. So peace. See you in a week.